Good to see everybody. Thanks for attending. Glad you're here. Another Tuesday and another story to tell about close games and wild finishes and all the things that seem to be becoming the norm for this football team. I feel like we're starring in a movie with Meryl Streep. But the amazing thing is no one seems to panic. Everyone seems to believe, and at least here these last couple times and a few times this season, we found a way to finish it and get the result we wanted. That being said, we are certainly not playing well enough in all three phases to play to our potential and take control of a game. I think Saturday was a great example of that. You look at the statistics, 29 first downs. I remember a game at Ball State against Virginia with 29 first downs, and we hung 48 points on Virginia at Virginia. We had 29 first downs in this game, but struggled to score points. We didn't finish drives. Our short yardage run game was not good. Our first drive ended on downs after two short yardage calls. We had an early drive where we marched all the way down to the 4-yard line, and then we had to settle for a field goal there. Would have really loved to get 7. We had a 60-yard explosive touchdown called back when our best offensive lineman got a holding penalty and sort of lost his poise. UMass, on the other hand, only had 11 first downs and 306 yards of total offense. So when you see those numbers, you think, well, they probably didn't score many points, but they got one touchdown on a 90-yard run. They got another touchdown on a 77-yard scramble that ended up being a completion where we missed a couple tackles. And so roughly 50% of their offense came on 2 plays. And then you throw in another 3 or 4 plays where our defense didn't set edges or fit things right, and you end up with the vast majority of all their yards for the afternoon. The flip side is we had 9 3-and-outs in that game, which when you say 9 3-and-outs, that sounds like a pretty dominant defensive performance, which minus 5 or 6 plays it was. So just a very, very interesting day in a lot of ways. Special teams had their share of inconsistency as well. Some good, bad, and ugly. We definitely left some punt return yards out on the field. We've got one of the most aggressive punt returners in the country. And I don't know if you noticed when we got the ball back there at the end, he fair caught the ball at the 50 and wide open space in front of him. I'm not saying he scores, but he certainly is going to get that ball to the edge of field goal range if he returns it. We had the kickoff out of bounds, which was not well executed, and then an average day punting it. So that's kind of the day it was in all 3 phases. There was a lot of good stuff, but also some lapses in focus. And some of those are coming from our best, most experienced players. So I had this thought: we're riding to the airport after the game, and we're all sort of mentally exhausted. And I'm thinking we need to bring William Shatner in here as a consultant, right? And if you're not familiar with William Shatner, you're going to have to look it up. But he's had a incredible career. So he's the Priceline guy. We'd have to Priceline William Shatner to get him in here, but I'd like to bring him in here to try to figure us out and explain some of this stuff. So here we are. We're week 4. We keep getting deeper into this thing, and fortunately, we're still in a good spot. We've got a really big challenge ahead of us with Akron coming to town. They are a very, very talented football team. You don't even have to tell our guys that. Anybody that was around here last year that played against Akron knows just exactly how talented they are. So on one hand, we've got the specifics of preparing for a team who's got some really explosive athletes on both sides of the ball, and then continuing to try to figure ourselves out here and coach better and play better and be more consistent. So the saga continues. Akron's played a very similar strength of schedule to us. They've played a couple really good group of 5 teams and been in some close games with them. Joe Moorhead is an excellent football coach, very, very good offensive mind. He really knows how to stress and attack defenses. In this game last year, fortunately, we were able to generate some turnovers, but otherwise we had a lot of trouble stopping these guys. I got a call over the summer, and somebody was doing a big article for The Athletic or one of those publications, ESPN, on quarterbacks. And he said, can you take me through every team in the league, every quarterback? And, the thing I told him was that a lot of teams in our league appeared to have new quarterbacks, so there were definitely some question marks regardless of their backgrounds, how they would come in, fit with their new team. I said, but the guy who's back that I think is a legitimate NFL prospect is Ben Finley, number 10 from Akron. This guy just throws a beautiful, beautiful ball. When we were watching warm-ups at Minnesota early in the season, their new starting quarterback that everybody was touting, in time, this guy is going to be a pro prospect. And you watched him throw the ball during pregame, and you got that sense. You could see, the kind of velocity and rotation and how smooth the release was. And Finley's got all of that same stuff, except he's an older veteran player now who has been there and done that. One of the throws that you look for if you're evaluating a quarterback and does he have the potential to play at the next level is can he throw the field out consistently on a rope? And I've seen Finley do that now for 2 years. He's very confident, very poised in the pocket, doesn't panic as the pocket is collapsing, does a great job keeping his eyes down the field, keeping plays alive. I think he's an above-average runner. So he's a huge, huge challenge. Their offense is an RPO-based offense. He's a tall guy, so when he's riding those zone plays and so on, if he's going to pull it and throw it, he can see over the offensive line and keep his vision down the field. They do a really nice job with their screen game. Some people run screens. These guys run like screens off of screens and screens and goes. They give you a lot of different things to worry about out on the perimeter. Very balanced attack. I think they're running the ball more effectively this year than they did last year. And I do think that Coach Moorhead is a coach that strives to have balance in his offense. I really like the way this O-line is playing. They're athletic. They're cohesive. It's primarily zone schemes, but they will use the tight end to fit in different ways. Sometimes he's cutting off the backside. Sometimes he's inserting on a linebacker. Sometimes he's leaking out. So there's a lot of different looks that you have to prepare for, and I think they're very good executing all of it. 2 really good-looking tight ends, very athletic tight ends. 88 Newell has been banged up a little bit, but he's a high-end player, big 6'5" looking guy, similar to the players we've seen from UMass and Eastern the last couple weeks. And then 85 Kravick, probably more in the 6'3" range, but bends very well, very smooth, very athletic guy. They've got a whole host of receivers. I think this is the best group of receivers that we will see probably since the UConn game, and maybe comparable to UConn and Minnesota. You just go down the list. Number 3, Mason, is explosive. He's got the most catches. But this guy, number 2, Williams, who I believe is a Marshall transfer, he's like 4th or 5th in terms of catches, but he's a fantastic player. Number 5, Polk, is very experienced. Number 1, Walker, is more of a slot receiver. Number 12, Monterio, I remember him as a high school player at Brockton High School in Massachusetts. I was at South Carolina, went in there, took a look at him, thought he was a really, really good player with a lot of big upside. I think he started at Pitt and then ended up at Akron. So he's not even playing a ton, but this guy can really go. Number 4, Greer, is their 5th leading receiver. So this is a very, very deep receiving core. 22, Gant at running back. He's got good speed and vision. I think he's very similar to some of the good backs we've seen the last couple weeks. Number 13, Patrick, also plays for them in the backfield. So I pulled up the Miami game to start because I knew that was a close game. And Akron just marched right down the field on them in the open drive. Had a couple penalties that slowed that drive down. They ended up getting stopped in the red zone. Then they have another drive. They march right down the field. I think they missed a field goal in the red zone, but it just shows they are very, very, very capable. And in the Central Michigan game, they were able to finish some of those drives and pretty much controlled that game from start to finish. The Miami game ended up being a 3-0 game at halftime. It ended up being a pretty good defensive battle, which segues right into this defense, which is extremely well coached, very sound. Their defensive coordinator is a highly experienced guy, does a great job. This unit is playing hard, playing cohesive. It's a mix of 4 down, 3 down. They'll get into some 5 down. They'll stem in between front to front. They'll sub. So you might see a 5-down look with their base defense. You might see a 5-down look with an extra defensive tackle on the field. There's a lot of 2 high safeties, but they will spin those coverages to 1 high. They'll line up and play some 1 high. They like to bring edge pressure, but they'll also bring some interior pressures. And, of course, like most teams, they'll get into some exotic stuff on 3rd and medium, 3rd and long. Their defensive line is very good. Number 10, Durham, their defensive end, I think is a legitimate all-MAC player. He is very, very rugged in the run game. He is a very challenging, elusive edge rusher who can really bend well and hone in on the quarterback. I think he's a really, really legit football player who, from what I've seen, is a no-brainer. As an all-conference guy. Nice group of defensive tackles that they can rotate through there. LaVenture, number 1, is very twitchy. Mixon, number 97, 54-5. A lot like these last couple teams we've seen in our league. Great depth at defensive tackle. I'm proud of our depth. I feel like every other team in our league has got some really good defensive tackles as well. Linebacker core is very experienced, physical, good blitzers. Number 7, Cooper's their leading tackler. Nichols, 9 and 3 are good players. Corners are listed at 6'2 and 6'1, and they look long, good cover guys. When you have good cover guys on the outside, that solves a lot of problems, a lot of experience at safety. So this is a good veteran group on defense that's been stingy all year. And then their special teams. Same coordinator as last year, and this was a challenging game for us to prepare for last year. It was a challenging game throughout the course of it. It's a very aggressive unit. I mentioned 13, Patrick, the running back. He's also a very good punt returner. 8, Hills, and 15, Thomas are their kick returners. They rarely fair catch it, so you might hit it 3 yards deep in the end zone. You might hit it out by the numbers. These guys are going to roll, so you got to be ready to cover every kick. They've played 2 punters this year, and you wonder why that is. Their average yards per punt are about a half a yard different, both averaging about 44 yards. Castle and Johnson, 95 and 34 respectively. They're only punting a little bit over 4 times a game since that Nebraska game. They had 7 or 8 punts in that Nebraska game, but since then, the last 6 games, they're rarely punting. 2 kickers, 99 Wiley started off the year kicking field goals, struggled a little bit. They replaced him recently with 47 Scram. He's 4 for 4. Wiley is still their kickoff guy. When they get into a must-onside situation, they could put both those kickers out there on the field. So big challenge, a lot to get ready for. We started off with a pretty enthusiastic Tuesday, which was great. But we've got a lot of work ahead of us to be ready for this team rolling in here. And one of the things I talked about with the team this morning, as we look at ourselves, as always, first and foremost, we had been averaging 4 penalties per game up until that UMass game, and had 11. So more than double, almost triple in that one game what we've been averaging, and some of them were obviously very untimely, uncharacteristic penalties. So guys are taking ownership for that, and fully expect us to get back to the kind of highly disciplined play that we expect. And I told them it's never going to be perfect. You know, there's going to be a DPI call. There's going to be an offensive hold. But we've had a couple procedural penalties here the last couple weeks, which you'd like to eliminate. And then I thought a few of our penalties last week were just a little bit careless. So let's see if we can execute better and play 60 minutes. And Akron's been in a lot of similar situations and similar games to us. So my gut is Coach Moorhead's probably challenging his team to do the same thing. So with that said, I'll open it up for your questions.
Did Jake Tim play some snaps last
He
week
did.
in the second half?
He did.
I don't think he started, but how is he
Yep,
coming along?
very perceptive. Yes, he did play some, and it was good to get him back in there. He practiced some today. I don't think he's close to 100%, but he's a very tough guy, and he knows that this is his last year of college football, and he's been such a wonderful addition to our program. Big shoes to fill with Don Palizzi graduating last year, and Jake's been great. When he's not in there, James Carrington has done a nice job. Alex Heininger played a lot of the game. Certainly wasn't 100% either. But and then Trevor Brock actually went down and banged up his knee pretty good and fought his way back into the game. So, that unit's, showing a little bit of wear and tear right now, but they're a tough group, and whatever percent they are, I'm confident that those guys are going to give us their best.
How important was it to get Kobe Stewart back after he entered the transfer portal? How important is he on that?
Yeah, Kobe's just a wonderful young man, and we share his story pretty regularly because we're living in a day and age of college football where these guys are under a lot of pressure from different people all over the place, family, friends. Everybody wants to see them be successful and make the most of their opportunities, and sometimes the best thing is to just stay right where you are and maximize the experience where you are. And the grass isn't always necessarily greener, and there are a lot of unknowns out there. Maybe you go to a program where you're not a fit for the culture. Maybe you don't have great relationships with your position coach, your coordinator, your head coach, and all the other people in those important auxiliary areas that are helping you become the best person you can be. And so I think in Kobe's case, he went into the transfer portal, and after spending a week, hearing from countless people, I think he was smart enough to say, you know what, maybe the best thing for me is just to stay right where I am. And we're certainly glad he did, and I'm proud of how he handled himself. I'm also proud of how we as a program handled ourselves, because it'd be easy to say good luck and immediately excommunicate a guy, but we all feel very strongly about Kobe and the type of person that he is. And so between Coach Bowen, myself, Coach Horton, our strength coach, Coach Dunning, all the other people that are involved with him on a daily basis, we were supportive. And about a week later, in his heart, he knew the right thing to do was to come back and to finish his college career here at Buffalo, get his degree from Buffalo. And he's a political science major. He's got well over a 3.0. He's obviously had a very nice career on the field. He's on the radar for some pro teams. How that pans out, we'll see. But, if he's a guy that ends up being a free agent or something like that, I'm sure he'll try to make the most of his opportunities. But the biggest thing is, and I think a lot of guys don't realize this when they decide to leave a place, Kobe is going to leave Buffalo a huge part of this university community and family. He's made some incredible connections with football alumni, with people on this campus, faculty and staff, supporters here in this area. He's such an outgoing, positive guy. He lights up a room. And so for the next 50 years of his life, he's going to have a strong connection to this university that by just being him and working as hard as he does, he's going to have some great opportunities and be able to come back here. We've got 2 football alums coming back here this weekend that are going to go into the Hall of Fame. And guys like Kobe are going to be able to come back here someday with their wife or with their kids or with their families and be proud of what they poured into this program and the difference that they made. And so I'm glad he stayed, and we appreciate him. And I think there's some good lessons in his story.
What have you seen from Vic Snow this year? Because every single time, Lee, in a game, you go to him and he makes the big play.
Yeah, no question. He had more yards. We have these GPS units that we wear, and Coach Horton and his staff do such a great job breaking down all this information. Vic put numbers up in that game on Saturday that are just off the charts, and as high as Coach Horton can ever remember. We had 85 plays of offense, of which I'm sure he was on the field for almost every single one of those. We punted a number of times. He's the gunner on every single one of those. We made UMass punt a number of times. He's the punt returner. So you can imagine how many bursts, how many starts and stops, how many times he changed direction. And then on top of that, just all the long yardage plays that he had, covering punts and running deep routes and so forth. And you're talking about a guy who's 168 pounds soaking wet doing it. It's just remarkable. So very proud of him, very appreciative of him and all that he's been able to become over the last 2 years.
You told us maybe a month or so ago that college football had changed. The teams are so close. The games are going to be closer. The blowouts are going to be less. I don't know if you anticipated what you're in the middle of now when you said that,
Yeah.
but is this an extreme example or more to what you thought this season and for everybody could be like?
There's been so much that has changed in the last 4 or 5 years, and now I feel like even just in this last year and a half and this season in particular, you're starting to see some of the impact. To think about teams like Penn State and Florida State, some of these blue blood programs that are struggling right now, and you say, how on earth could this ever happen? We know those are outstanding coaching staffs. I worked for one of the guys for 2 years, and I know he's an outstanding football coach, and he's got outstanding guys on his staff. My former special teams coordinator is a special teams coordinator at Penn State, one of the best I've ever been around. I know how good that staff is. But the dynamics are different now, and the way these teams are coming together, the way they are or are not playing cohesively is making a huge difference. And so you're seeing some more close games, you're seeing some more upsets, you're seeing some blue blood teams at times struggle. Sometimes you just see those upsets in week 1 or week 2, and here we are in mid to late November, and you're seeing them. No, I just think it's a different world that we're living in right now, and it's going to continue to evolve. If some of these additional new rules are approved, who knows what the reactions to those are going to be and how it's going to impact rosters next year. So the best thing we can do is just continue to be ready to adapt and evolve and prepare ourselves for the challenges. But I will say this, I was a head coach for 15 years at 3 different places. Coming back and doing it again now, years 16 and 17 here. The analytics are definitely a much bigger part of the game than they were the last time I was a head coach, but I can't recall a season where I have had to make more decisions with timeouts at the end of halves and the end of games and critical moments, critical junctures where you could be doing this forever and have a PhD in stats, and still some of this stuff is challenging. So it has been, mentally draining for sure, and it's good to have some help with some of this analytics, because I'm more of a management guy. I'm not a finance or accounting guy. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Do you think you'll need an undefeated MAC record to make it to Detroit?
Whew. The way the standings look this year, I doubt it. I doubt it. There's what, 3 teams that haven't lost yet. There's a bunch with 1 league loss. There's a bunch with 2. I think there's so much parity right now, it's not even worth looking at, because who knows where things will be, 3 or 4 weeks from now. I think the biggest thing you can control is today, tomorrow, the next day, and trying to go out there and play and win, knowing that every team on the schedule can beat you, and hopefully you're capable of beating every team you play. But I do think the teams that continue to stick together, going back to the previous question, the teams that can stick together, stay healthy, somehow figure out a way to play better here as the season goes on, are going to give themselves a better chance to get there.
Anything else for Coach? That's good.
All right,
thanks, everyone.
super. Thank you.